If you don't command respect, you invite disrespect. Respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you either radiate or you don't. If you're doing the wrong things, even without realizing it, they'll never give it to you. That's just how it works, my friend. Today's truth is simple. They will never respect you if you do these 7 things. Not sometimes, not maybe, but never. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a room wearing a sharp suit, shoulders back, trying to look confident, but under all that fabric, your spine is made of paper. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You agree just to avoid conflict. You apologize when you've done nothing wrong. You smile, but inside, you're shrinking. People can smell that. They sense when your strength is only surface level. It's like trying to scare off wolves with a paper sword. Looks flashy, but the second someone pushes you, you fold. From that moment on, they never look at you the same. See, respect isn't about being loud. It's not about flexing or faking confidence or trying to please everyone around you. No, it's about presence, energy, and how you carry yourself when nobody's clapping. Let me tell you something real. If you trade your self-respect to win other people's approval, you lose both. That's the lie we were sold. Be nice, be agreeable, always say yes, never make waves. But here's the truth. The world doesn't respect a person who can't respect themselves first. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." That hits hard because while we're out here trying to explain ourselves, trying to prove we're worthy, trying to be liked, we forget that respect doesn't come from noise. It comes from substance. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break the patterns. We're going to call out the behaviors. We're going to shine a light on those 7 quiet killers of respect. The things that, even if done with good intentions, silently crush how others see you. And no, this isn't about being cold or arrogant. It's about being solid. It's about having a spine. It's about standing in your truth even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Real respect, real power doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being unshakable. And I'm not just talking about relationships here. This goes deeper. This is how you show up in life, in business, in friendships, in every room you walk into. If you don't value yourself, nobody else will, period. So if you're tired of being overlooked, tired of being the nice person who gets walked on, tired of feeling invisible while pretending to be strong, this one's for you. We're going to build the kind of presence that demands respect without ever having to say a word. When we're done, you'll know exactly what to stop doing and how to start walking like someone who truly owns their space. Because that's the goal here, not to be feared, not to be followed, but to be respected quietly, deeply, without question. So let's do this. Type this in the comments right now. I command respect. Say it, believe it, live it. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay with me. We're just getting started. Stay solid, stay grounded, stay untouchable. 1. You try too hard to be liked. The person who tries to please everyone ends up respected by no one. Let's not sugarcoat this, my friend. People can smell desperation before you even open your mouth. They won't tell you to your face, but behind your back, they're either laughing or forgetting you ever existed. When your energy screams, "Please like me," you don't inspire connection. You inspire pity. Picture this. You walk into a room with your shoulders back, a smile on your face, trying to seem confident, but under all that, you're adjusting your personality like a costume. You say what you think they want to hear. You nod when your soul wants to say no. You become agreeable, easy, predictable, and in the process, you erase yourself. They like you, sure, but they don't respect you because deep down, they know you're playing a role, not living your truth. And I get it. You ask yourself, isn't being liked a good thing? You worry. What if I speak my truth and they walk away? Maybe the scariest thought of all. What if I stop bending and no one sticks around? But here's the hard truth. If they only stay when you stay small, they were never truly with you. That's not love, that's comfort, and comfort is not respect. The world teaches us early to blend in, not to rock the boat, to keep people happy, but they don't tell you what that costs. They don't tell you that peace bought through silence turns into a slow war against your own identity. You become a shadow of yourself, liked by all, valued by none. And the worst part? You start believing the lie that this is what strength looks like. Marcus Aurelius said, "The approval of the unwise, if you're wise, should be cause for laughter." Yet most of us spend our lives chasing it. You twist yourself into shapes to please people who don't even know who they are. You bury your fire so they feel comfortable in your light, and the price of that is your power. Trying to be liked by everyone is like pouring yourself into 100 different cups, hoping one of them will fill you back up. But they won't. They'll drink from you. They'll take the easy version of you, and when you've got nothing left to give, they'll move on to the next echo. Because that's what you become when you live to be liked. An echo, a reflection, not a person. You weren't built to be an echo. You were built to be a force. You were built to walk into a room and not shrink when people disagree. You were built to stand tall, even if you're standing alone. But yes, it will be uncomfortable. You'll feel the sting of rejection, the tension of silence, the discomfort of being misunderstood. But what's the alternative? Living a life where you're liked by everyone and respected by no one. Respect isn't born from charm, it's born from consistency, from integrity, from being the same person in every room, whether they clap or not. The moment you stop performing is the moment you start living. When you stop trying to be liked, the right people start showing up. Not because you entertained them, but because you stood for something real. So now the choice is yours. Keep folding or finally stand up. Keep chasing smiles or earn silent respect. Drop the mask, say what you mean. Stop apologizing for existing, because the truth is, your strength isn't in how much they like you. It's in how little you need them to. Type this in the comments right now. I choose truth over approval. Say it, show it, live it. Not just for them, but for you. For the person you're becoming. For the life you're ready to claim. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the one behavior that silently erases your power, even when your heart's in the right place. You'll want to hear this. Be real, be solid, be respected. 2, you let people cross your boundaries. The more you tolerate disrespect, the more it becomes your identity. Let me tell you something hard, my friends. What you tolerate doesn't just reflect what you're willing to accept. It shapes how the world sees you. Every time you let someone talk down to you, walk all over you, or disrespect your time, energy, or worth, and you say nothing, you're teaching them how to treat you, not with your words, but with your silence. Picture yourself as a fortress. Tall walls, strong gates, built to protect everything sacred inside. But instead of guarding it, you leave the gates wide open. You hope people will walk in respectfully, appreciate the space, and treat it with care. But they don't. They bring their mess, rearrange things to suit themselves, and disrespect what you've built. They do it with a smile because you never told them not to. And here's the worst part. You let it happen not because you're weak, but because somewhere deep down you thought it was better to be nice. Better to avoid drama, better to be silent than to risk someone getting upset. You told yourself it's not a big deal, even when your gut was screaming otherwise. But let me ask you something. How long can you keep swallowing your voice before it chokes you? See, people don't respect silence. They don't respect passivity. They respect clarity, they respect boundaries, and they respect someone who knows where they stand and isn't afraid to enforce it. If you keep letting people cross the line, eventually there is no line left. You've been told your whole life that standing up for yourself is rude, that saying no is selfish, that drawing a boundary means you're difficult. But that's a lie designed to keep you small, a lie that benefits the people who thrive on your silence, because as long as you keep the peace by sacrificing yourself, they win and you lose. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." I'll add this: if it is not respectful, do not allow it, because the moment you do, you're telling the world, I'm okay with being mistreated. I'm okay with being overlooked. I'm okay with being less than I am. And you're not. You were not built to be stepped on. You were not made to be anyone's emotional punching bag. You were not created to bend every time someone pushes you. You are not weak for setting boundaries. You are strong for choosing to protect your peace. But yes, it's hard. It's hard to speak up when you're used to staying quiet. It's hard to risk losing someone by finally saying, that's not okay. But let me ask you, what's harder? Losing someone who only stayed because you kept letting them overstep, or losing yourself by staying silent? One more time. The truth is, if your boundaries drive people away, let them go. Let them walk. Let them whisper. Because anyone who leaves when you start honoring yourself was never really for you. Boundaries don't push the right people away. They filter out the ones who were only there to take. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not the master of himself." Being a master of yourself means knowing when to say enough. It means closing the gate and locking it behind you when someone no longer deserves access. It means no longer giving people unlimited passes to disrespect your space, your time, or your soul. You don't need to shout. You don't need to fight. You don't even need to explain. You just need to be solid, clear, and calm. The kind of calm that says, you don't get to speak to me that way. You don't get to treat me like that. Not anymore. Because when you hold the line, when you enforce your boundaries without guilt or apology, the weak will walk away and the strong will rise to meet you. That's how you shift your circle. That's how you shift your life. So type this in the comments right now. I protect my peace. Let them know. Let you know. Show the world what it looks like to finally choose yourself. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the one thing you think is kindness, but is quietly destroying your respect without you even realizing it. Stand your ground, speak your truth, choose your peace. 3. You lie to keep the peace. Peace that requires you to lie to yourself isn't peace, it's a prison. Let's get honest, my friends. If you have to lie to keep the peace, then what you're keeping isn't peace. It's a performance, and eventually all performances end. The curtain falls, the mask slips, and when it does, the same people you were trying to please won't even recognize you anymore. You've done it before. We all have. You've said it's fine when it wasn't. You've nodded when everything inside you wanted to scream. You've stayed silent, swallowed your truth, and forced a smile just to keep things calm. You lied, not with cruel intent, but out of fear. Fear of upsetting someone, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being labeled too much, too sensitive, or too difficult. But here's the harsh truth. When you lie to keep things calm on the outside, you create chaos on the inside. You betray yourself a little every time, and it adds up over time. That quiet betrayal builds resentment, frustration, and distance, until one day you don't even recognize the version of yourself you've become. Imagine your truth is a fire, bright, untamed, pure. But instead of letting it burn, you throw water on it every day to keep everyone else comfortable. Eventually, that fire dims, then flickers, then dies. All that's left is smoke, silent, suffocating, and unseen. That's what lying to keep the peace does to your spirit. It doesn't just silence your voice, it smothers your soul. You think you're being kind. You think you're keeping harmony. But what you're really doing is teaching people that your feelings, your needs, your boundaries don't matter. You're giving them a version of you that's edited for their comfort. But a comfortable lie is still a lie. And no relationship, friendship, romance, or business can survive on false ground. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And bravery doesn't always look like swinging swords or making bold moves. Sometimes bravery is simply telling the truth when it's easier to stay quiet. Sometimes bravery is looking someone in the eyes and saying, "That hurt," or "I don't agree," or "I need something different." Now, let's be real. It's hard. You'll feel your heart race, your voice might shake. You'll imagine worst-case scenarios. You'll fear rejection, confrontation, disappointment. Yes, sometimes telling the truth will cause temporary discomfort. But you know what's worse? A lifetime of pretending, a lifetime of walking on eggshells in your own life. Lying to protect someone else's feelings at the cost of your own is not compassion. It's self-abandonment. The people who truly love you, who truly respect you, don't want your silence. They want your truth, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable. Because the truth builds trust, builds connection, builds clarity. Most importantly, it builds you. Stoicism doesn't teach you to suppress your truth. It teaches you to master it, to deliver it with calm, with control, with strength. Not to attack, but to reveal. Not to blame, but to honor your own integrity. When your words match your heart, people may not always like it, but they will respect it. And those who don't, let them go. If your truth breaks the relationship, it wasn't built strong enough to last anyway. Let me say it clearly. You don't owe anyone comfort at the expense of your clarity. You don't have to light yourself on fire just to keep others warm. You don't need to lie, edit, or shrink to be accepted. You need to be real. Being real means being honest, even when it shakes the room, even when your voice cracks, even when they don't understand. Because that's where real peace begins, not in pretending, but in presence, not in silence, but in sincerity. So type this in the comments. I speak my truth. Say it loud, say it clear. Let the world hear it, and more importantly, let you hear it. This is how you shift your life. This is how you stop being the echo and become the voice. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the subtle thing you've been doing for years that feels like humility, but is actually blocking every ounce of respect you deserve. Speak clearly, stand tall, honor your truth. 4. You apologize for who you are. Never shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable. Those who truly matter will never ask you to. Let me speak to the part of you that's tired of apologizing for simply existing, the part that's worn out from constantly second-guessing yourself. Because let's be real, my friends, you can't be fully respected if you're constantly apologizing for being who you are. It doesn't matter how kind you are, how generous, how understanding. If you keep dimming your light just so others don't feel uncomfortable, eventually they'll stop seeing you altogether. You know the feeling. You walk into a room and start scanning, who do I need to adjust for? You shrink a little. You make your voice softer. You tone down your opinions. You water down your passion. You hide your confidence just enough so no one feels threatened. You over-explain for your ambition. You say sorry when you haven't done a thing wrong. It becomes a habit, a survival strategy, a way to avoid judgment. Maybe for a little while, it works. People like you, they say you're humble. They call you easygoing. But deep down, you know the truth. They don't like you. They like the muted version of you. And slowly, that starts to eat away at you. No matter how much you try to please them, it never feels like enough. You feel invisible, dismissed, small. You start to wonder if maybe something's wrong with you. But nothing's wrong with you. You've just spent too long trying to be digestible. And let's not pretend it's easy to unlearn. From a young age, many of us were taught not to brag, not to make others feel bad, not to be too much. So we played it safe. We kept our heads down, smiled, nodded, and made ourselves soft enough to be accepted. But here's what they never told you. The world doesn't need a smaller version of you. It needs a solid one, a true one, a version of you that stands tall, even if it makes the room uncomfortable. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That means no more debate about whether you're too intense, too ambitious, too bold, or too passionate. Just be all of it, without apology, without shame. Because the second you stop apologizing for who you are, you start commanding a different kind of energy. People look at you differently. They listen when you speak. They feel something in your presence, not because you forced it, but because you finally allowed yourself to take up space. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel guilty at first. You'll have moments where you want to shrink back into the version of yourself that was easier for others to accept. But you have to resist that urge. Every time you shrink, you teach the world that your full self isn't welcome, and eventually you'll believe it too. Don't do that to yourself. Don't abandon yourself just to make insecure people feel secure. Don't apologize for your energy, your ideas, your success, your standards. If they can't handle your light, it's not your job to dim it. It's their job to step out of the shadow and rise. The ones who truly matter won't need you to be less. They'll see your fullness and feel inspired, not intimidated. They'll respect the way you show up with honesty and presence. And those who don't, let them drift. You're not here to babysit egos. Stoicism teaches us to live in alignment with our values, not others' insecurities, to walk our path with calm, unwavering presence. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to be accepted by everyone. You just need to be aligned with yourself. So from this moment on, drop the fake humility. Stop saying sorry for being real. Take your space. Own your lane. Show the world what it looks like to stand in your truth unapologetically. Type this in the comments right now. I no longer shrink. Let them see it. Let you feel it. Say it like you mean it. Because this life is not meant to be lived half present, half heard, half seen. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the one thing that destroys respect faster than anything else, especially when emotions take the wheel. You'll want to hear this. Be bold, be loud, be unapologetically you. 5. You're controlled by your emotions. He who angers you conquers you. Let's not pretend here. When your emotions run the show, you're not the driver anymore. You're just the passenger. If you keep giving your steering wheel to every trigger, every insult, every mood swing, you'll crash into the same wall over and over again. Not because life is unfair, but because you never learned to control the ride. You know how it goes. Someone says something that hits a nerve, and before you even take a breath, you're snapping back, pacing, overthinking, sending texts you'll regret, raising your voice to prove a point. Or maybe it's the other extreme. You go silent, disappear, retreat into your mind, and let anxiety eat you alive. Either way, you're not in control. Your emotions are holding the leash, and you're the one getting dragged. And the worst part, you know it. You feel the shame after you hear your own voice in your head saying, "Why did I let them get to me like that?" You replay it 100 times, promising yourself next time you'll stay calm. But next time comes, and the cycle repeats. You're not weak for feeling deeply, you're human. But there's a difference between feeling emotions and letting them own you. One gives you awareness, the other robs you of power. And let's be honest, nothing kills respect faster than being unpredictable. People might pity you, they might walk on eggshells around you, but they don't respect someone they can't rely on to stay composed when things get tough. Imagine a king who throws his crown across the room every time he's offended, who storms out of meetings, who lashes out at his people. That's not a leader, that's a boy in a costume. And that's how you come across when you let anger, sadness, jealousy, or fear run your life. Now, here's where the lie comes in. You've been told that expressing your emotions freely is a sign of strength, that being real means reacting in the moment, that if you bottle things up, you're suppressing your truth. But Stoicism doesn't teach suppression, it teaches control. Control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you decide how to feel, when to speak, and if it's even worth it. Seneca said, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Most of the pain you feel isn't from the thing itself. It's from your reaction to it. You spiral because your mind wasn't trained to pause. You suffer because you gave away your calm. So how do you take it back? It starts with one breath. That moment between trigger and reaction is where your power lives. You pause. You ask, is this worth my energy? You step outside the storm instead of drowning in it. You remind yourself, I control my emotions, they don't control me. The more you practice that, the stronger you become. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, but it's powerful. It's the quiet kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need to yell to be heard, the kind that stands still when the world is shaking. Trust me, people notice. They feel it when chaos hits and you stay calm. That's when respect walks in the door, not because you were loud, but because you were unshakable. There will always be moments that test you. There will always be people who push your buttons just to see if they still work. But that's the point. You stop giving them the satisfaction. You stop making other people responsible for your emotional state. You become a storm within silence, a fire under control, a person who can walk through hell with a straight face and steady breath. That's what Stoicism is about. Not becoming emotionless, but becoming masterful. Calm doesn't mean you're weak, it means you've chosen strength that doesn't need chaos to be felt. So type it in the comments right now. I control my emotions. Let that be your vow to yourself, to the people watching you, to the world that keeps trying to shake you. Stay with me because what's coming next is the behavior that seems small, even harmless, but it erodes your respect faster than any outburst ever could. Stay sharp, stay still, stay in control. 6. You avoid responsibility. You can't outrun what you refuse to face. Let's cut straight through the noise, my friend. If you keep blaming the world for everything going wrong in your life, you'll never grow beyond it. As long as your finger is pointed outward, your power is leaking, your respect fading. No one respects a person who won't own their part. Not in relationships, not in business, not in life. You see, there's something subtle, almost sneaky, about the way we avoid responsibility. It doesn't always look like laziness. Sometimes it shows up as excuses. I would have done it if they supported me. I can't focus because of my past. She made me act like that. It's not my fault, I'm just reacting. It sounds reasonable, it sounds logical, but all it really is a quiet surrender of your strength. Imagine carrying a backpack full of stones, your mistakes, your failures, your mess-ups. Now imagine trying to hand them off to everyone around you. One to your parents, one to your ex, one to society, one to your childhood. But here's the problem. Even if you hand them off in your mind, the weight doesn't leave your back. It just keeps you hunched, drained, bitter. Responsibility doesn't mean taking the blame for everything. It doesn't mean you're always wrong, but it does mean being willing to say, this is my life and how I respond is on me. That mindset, that's what separates the people who stay stuck from the ones who rise. You think avoiding responsibility protects your ego, but all it really does is trap you in the same cycle. You're never in the wrong, but you're never in control either. Because if everything is someone else's fault, then nothing is within your power to fix. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's the Stoic blueprint. Life will throw chaos at you. People will lie, betray, and disappoint. Circumstances will knock you sideways. But if every single problem in your life is someone else's fault, you've just declared yourself powerless. And that's not who you are. You weren't built to be a victim. You weren't built to hide behind what happened. You were built to own it, face it, and grow stronger because of it. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a weapon. Because once you claim it, you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life. You fix it yourself. But let's be real, it's hard. It stings to admit you messed up. It burns to look in the mirror and say, "That one's on me." It takes humility to say, "I overreacted," or "I procrastinated," or "I let that situation spiral because I didn't step up." But that kind of honesty earns respect. Yours and theirs. People don't respect perfection. They respect accountability, the ability to say, "Yes, I failed, and here's what I'm doing about it." That's what builds character. That's what builds trust. That's what separates leaders from excuse makers. And don't think for a second that taking responsibility means being hard on yourself. It means believing that you're strong enough to fix what you've broken. It means not waiting on anyone to hand you closure, forgiveness, or a second chance. It means taking what you've got, where you are, and making something out of it, because you refuse to be at the mercy of excuses. So if you've been hiding from it, running from it, avoiding the hard truths, stop. Stop blaming, stop dodging, stop rewriting the story to make yourself the victim. Instead, do the bravest thing a person can do. Own your role. All not with shame, but with strength, with calm, with clarity. And when you do, something changes. People feel it. They trust you more. They see you differently. Because now you're not just reacting to life, you're shaping it. Type this in the comments right now. I own my story. Let it be your line in the sand, your declaration, not just for the world to see, but for you to live by. And don't go anywhere, because what's next is the behavior that looks polite on the surface. But underneath, it tells the world you have no voice. Own your part, rewrite your story, take back your power. 7. You stay silent when you should speak. Your silence gives them permission. There's a kind of silence that heals, the kind that holds wisdom, that listens more than it speaks. But then there's the other kind, the silence that kills your power. That type of silence doesn't come from calm, it comes from fear. The more you practice it, the more invisible you become. You know the feeling. You're in a moment where something needs to be said. Someone crosses the line, someone disrespects you. Someone says something that twists your gut. And what do? You stay quiet, not because you're at peace, but because you're scared of making waves. You don't want to look dramatic. You don't want to rock the boat. You convince yourself it's not worth it. But here's what you don't realize. Every time you choose silence when your voice is needed, you give away a piece of yourself. You tell the world, my boundaries are optional. My truth isn't important. My voice can wait. Eventually, the world starts to believe you. They treat you the way you've trained them to. You think you're keeping the peace, but it's not peace. It's quiet suffering. It's slow self-erasure. If you do it long enough, you start to forget what your voice even sounds like. You become the person who never disagrees, never challenges, never speaks up. Over time, people stop listening because you never had the courage to say, that's not okay. The lie you've been told is this: speaking up is rude. Setting boundaries is selfish. Saying no means you're difficult. But the truth, your silence isn't protecting you. It's weakening you, and people feel that. They feel when you're swallowing your truth. They feel when you're biting your tongue out of fear instead of wisdom. Eventually, they stop respecting what you don't respect in yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the thing you're avoiding, that uncomfortable conversation, that truth you keep hiding, that confrontation you keep dodging, that's exactly where your power is buried. That's where your respect lives. You think if you speak up, they'll walk away. You think they'll get angry. You think it'll ruin the relationship. But let's be honest, if your truth can destroy the relationship, was it even real to begin with? Or was it just a performance? One where you played the quiet, agreeable version of yourself and hoped they'd love you for it. You weren't built to be agreeable. You weren't meant to nod your head through life while your soul begs for air. You were meant to stand in your truth, even if your voice shakes, even if they don't like it, even if they walk away. Because the right people, they don't fear your voice, they respect it. Stoicism teaches us to be measured, not mute, to speak with reason, not rage, to choose our words carefully, not avoid them entirely. There is strength in silence, yes, but only when it comes from a place of grounded wisdom, not from fear of confrontation. You don't have to raise your voice to be powerful. You don't have to argue to be heard. You don't need to dominate the room. But you do need to speak when something matters. You need to defend your line. You need to show up for you. Will it be uncomfortable? Yes. Will it trigger reactions? Maybe. But discomfort is the price of growth, and silence is the cost of staying small. So ask yourself, how many more times will I sit in silence while my respect disappears into the background? No more. From this moment forward, you speak with purpose. You draw the line. You say what needs to be said, not to attack, not to win, but to honor your truth. When people hear that calm, clear, unwavering voice, they'll listen. They might not like it, but they'll respect it. Type this in the comments right now. I will speak my truth. Let it echo. Let it hit, not just in your words, but in how you walk, talk, live, and refuse to stay silent any longer. Stay with me, because up next, it's the final piece of the puzzle, the quiet shift that happens when you stop performing and start living like someone who truly respects themselves. Speak clearly, speak calmly, speak when it counts. Conclusion: respect is a byproduct of integrity, not approval. When you start acting like you don't need their respect, that's when they start giving it. Let's bring it all together, my friends. We've walked through every behavior that destroys respect, every habit that chips away at your presence, every moment where you gave away your power and didn't even realize it. Now, here we are at the part most people never talk about, the truth that flips the entire game on its head. You don't earn respect by chasing it. You earn it by embodying it. You don't beg for it. You don't force it. You don't convince people to give it to you like it's some gift you've been waiting on. No, respect is attracted to who you are, not who you pretend to be. It flows naturally to the person who walks in truth, stands in discipline, and lives without apology. You've been lied to, told that if you're nice enough, agreeable enough, polite enough, soft enough, people will respect you. But that's not how it works. People don't respect comfort. They respect clarity. They respect consistency. They respect the person who doesn't flinch under pressure, the person who says what they mean and means what they say, the person who doesn't apologize for having a backbone. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to be that person in a world full of approval seekers. It's hard to stay grounded when everyone else is performing. But that's why it matters. That's what sets you apart. Because real respect, it's silent, it's felt, it's not loud or showy. You don't walk into a room and demand it. You carry yourself in a way that makes people feel it, in the way you speak, The way you handle conflict, the way you protect your boundaries, the way you refuse to betray yourself just to belong. Think about it. The people you truly respect, what do they have in common? Is it their charm, their looks, their ability to please everyone? No, you respect them because they're solid, because they don't waver, because you can feel their integrity from across the room. That's what you're building right now. With every decision, every boundary you hold, every truth you speak, every time you stay calm when you want to explode, every time you walk away instead of begging to be seen, you're not just earning respect. You're becoming the kind of person who commands it without asking. And no, this path isn't easy. You'll be misunderstood. You'll lose people. You'll be tested over and over again. But what you gain, it's untouchable. Peace, confidence, self-respect. The kind of presence that doesn't need validation to feel worthy. The kind of stillness that makes the world take notice even when you say nothing. That's what Stoicism is about. Not becoming cold, not shutting down your emotions, but becoming unshakable, rooted, steady in who you are, no matter who walks in or out of your life. So here's your reminder. You don't need to perform anymore. You don't need to shrink. You don't need to prove your worth to people who never took the time to see you. All you need to do is live in alignment with your truth. Because the person who respects themselves first will never have to ask others to do the same. In conclusion, respect isn't given. It's earned through discipline, integrity, and truth. When you stop chasing approval and start living with purpose, everything changes. Let your actions speak louder than words. Stay grounded, stay real. If this helped you, like the video, subscribe to the channel and share it forward.